Among the flora and the fauna, beneath the branches who want to love ya, among the many souls who drive and lose control and stumble into a secret right under your nose.
Blessings, fellow weird and wild ones. My name's Goddess, aka G, aka your friendly neighborhood witch. They, them, their pronouns, please and thank you, point blank, period. Thank you for joining me in the practice of finding our way back to wholeness. This is our temple, our playground, our life, and our truths. During our audio session together, I will be talking with my village on how we are healing, changing paradigms, and decolonizing and degendering the mind. You are not alone. You are enough. Let's plant these divine seeds together. This work is for the collective from me, and there's a lot of magic that goes on behind the scenes. Find ways to support and reciprocate me and the other co-creators on the show at the links below. Grab your pens and paper, grab your woes, and let go.
Among the flora and the fauna, beneath the branches who wanna love ya.
Shout out and big thank you to a dear friend of mine, Lori Amadeo, for sharing her track Radiate Out with us. Check it out on the SoundCloud link below.
My name is LadySpeech Sankofa. I am a hood healer, a hood witch, and my pronouns are she, her, they, and king.
Ooh, that hit. Like there was some tingles when you said king?
King, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, rock on. Can you, yeah, what do you embody? What race, ethnicity do you embody?
I am blackity black, black diasporic, black African, black African American, blackity black. And I embody the gender of the divine feminine and the divine masculine and the divine other.
Yes. Can you say black one more time just to raise it a little bit higher?
Blackity black, blackest black, hella black and down home black.
Oh, that's a whole soundtrack. Yes. All right, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am a healer. I am a dancer. I'm an artist, and a survivor. I have been in the healing in my community for over 20 years, and I am everything is escaping me right now. But I'm mainly a healer and an artist and an archivist. Those are my main veins, and those are the things that I do, and I do those 1,000 different ways. So I burlesque dance, I am a dominatrix, I divine for people, and I'm also an initiate of voodoo and making my way towards my high priestess initiation. I will be a mambo at some point soon. So.
And yeah, as we move along in our conversation, I know that more about what you do is just going to naturally come out. So it'll happen when it happens. And yeah, I was going to ask you about your journey, because with becoming a high priestess in Mambo, because that was a part of the video that I was watching where I found out you were also raised a Jehovah's Witness. I was like, what? So first of all, congratulations. And I hope that journey is really, expanding and depening your love for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so how about in this moment, where do you feel joy and where do you feel fear in your body?
In this moment, I feel joy all over my body, and in this moment, I actually don't feel any fear. So that'll ebb and flow and oscillate because we are human. I am human, but in this moment, I am not feeling any fear. I'm fresh off of my spiritual work and my prayers and meditations and things. So I'm pretty grounded, really clear, and really directed right now.
Yes. Okay. For me, I feel joy just for this day. Like this day is so beautiful. And yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. And as for fear, I don't know if it's fear, just like stepping into the unknown, having a conversation with you fresh off the bat and being like, oh my gosh, this is new. So more that than fear. So yeah. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you for having a space for me to share.
Yeah. Okay, so can you tell us some of like the pivotal moments in your life that led to your current spiritual practice?
Yeah. Let's see. I probably I was raised primarily and for the most part Jehovah Witness in my childhood. That wasn't the beginning of what wasn't my whole childhood. There was a little ebb and flow block for a second, but for the most part that's what I was raised to be. And I actually remember I was probably like 12 or 13. And being a Jehovah's Witness, you don't really you don't do a lot of celebrations. So weddings are what we all live for. And when I was really thinking about when we were going to a wedding, and I remember the wedding, it was like, this was like the summertime, and this was probably like the second or third wedding we had gone to that summer. So that wore that in between that summer and spring. So this was probably like the second or third wedding, and I remember sitting down and listening to the wedding talk, and it was like I checked into it the third time, and when they were having to talk about submission and a woman being submissive to her husband and all kinds of stuff like that, I remember having a very clear thought and being like, I don't think that's my life. Some of these dudes are fucking stupid. What if he's dumb? What if and I love him, but what if he's dumb? I ain't listening to that motherfucker. Like, if he's fucking stupid and I love his dumb ass, he's gonna do what I say, and we're gonna enjoy this relationship. And I was very clear. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to think like that. Like, literally after I thought that, I was like, I don't think you're supposed to think like that. This might not be the path for me. I don't know. We're going to give it a try. But I remember that at 13, that was very clear. Like, I don't know if I like this language. And then at, I think I was 15 or 16 when I went to the elders. I think this was 16. Because, yeah, I was making my way out of the house. I was 16 when I went to the elders with my stepmom, and I was reporting my father for the abuse that he was giving to me. He was really physically abusive, emotionally, mentally abusive, manipulative, all kinds of things. But the physical abuse was getting out of hand, and I had a space in my heart where I felt like I was going to die. So I leaned into my religion, and I decided to really give it a space and a shot and see if I was going to really make this my face. Before that time, I was just doing what you're told to do and what you're indoctrinated to do. But I went to the elders to talk about it and to take my dad to task. And they ended up putting me in a more dangerous situation. Thankfully, Spirit looked out for me. But they basically were like, your dad's the head of the household. Jesus is over him. You're probably being ornery and fucked up. Maybe you should calm down. And it's not abuse. He can do whatever he wants, basically. So I was like, great. Well, I'm probably going to die now because I just took a big leap. And my abuser has full control over me. So great. I'm probably going to die. I didn't die, but that severed that tie with that type of organized religion. I knew from that moment that I was never going to do anything like that again. I was very clear that God was real, and I knew I was connected to Creator, but I just couldn't take a religion that's not going to protect the most vulnerable and cage the most vulnerable, and I wasn't being protected. So at that point, I just, went through the motions until I could leave the house. I knew that that wasn't my religion. I knew that wasn't my faith. I knew that, and this is, back in the day. So I was the craft had been out for a little while, and I was attracted to occultish things, and I was also in social studies. I was always attracted to like the religions of the societies that we would study, and I was moved by all of the religious, and spiritual studies. So I kind of, decided to lightly dabble in that world, and then when I left the house, I started my spiritual journey. And I first began with what was safe, which was organized religion. So Islam was very attractive to me, and I was in a community on a secular level with the life that I was building. The poetry community, artistic community, but it was a very Black militant-centered community, and a lot of people were Muslims. So I was definitely attracted to Islam, and I loved the accoutrement, the regalia of it, and I loved the ancientness of it. But then it was an ex that introduced me to the Sufi side of it, and it clicked. I was like, I like the Sufi side because I like the magic, and I was like, well, you just want the magic, it's what you want, so you need to go back and go for the magic. And spirit, the ancestors were like, it needs to look like you. What you do needs to look like you. And I was like, well, then we got to start African. And so at first I was attracted to Santeria, but I got turned off really quickly because and I was getting deeper into my Blackness and my militancy, and I didn't want any white people at all. I didn't want to look at any white people. I didn't want to worship any white people. I didn't want that. And so I appreciated the story of Santeria and the way that in the diaspora we used white things to still practice our religions and be. But I just said I was too new in my militancy and just really couldn't take it. And so I started researching Ifa. And in my early 20s, I got pulled in. I was actually called to Voodoo and Ifa, but my community where I was at, there was no one to bring me Voodoo. And the person by the house that I am belonging to wasn't even in creation yet. And so the Orisha, which both are part of my bloodline, from Nigeria, the Orisha is part of my bloodline, and Benin and Togo Voodoo is part of my bloodline as well. So the Orisha took me, and they started schooling me, and that began my journey with hoodoo. That began my journey with hoodoo. Even though I was initiated into the Ifa religion, I didn't receive the support that I needed to really take off in that space, which was all in divine timing. I just needed the cover of that house for what I needed it for. I needed to learn, and I didn't need to take it deeper. Even when a high priestess read me, she was like, "Don't take it deeper. Like, you got something else for you." So yeah, I was with Ifa in all of my 20s, and in my early beginning, it was Ifa and hoodoo that really took my world up. And I definitely studied a lot about other African traditional religions from all over the diaspora, and was always, into voodoo, was always called to it. It wasn't right. The spirits, the Loa, the ancestors, the Orisha, they know what's right for you. And so now is right. And I've been called back into voodoo very heavy. But yeah, those are the major kind of events that pushed me into this space of African traditional religion.
Okay. Ooh, that was okay. So first of all, I want to say thank you for bringing up language that a lot of people might not know about. Because when you're talking about the elders and stuff, I'm like, ooh, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I realized not a lot of people are going to know what we're even talking about, because not a lot of people are invited into this world of being raised a Jehovah's Witness. So elders are what do you call them? Pastors and
they're the deacons, the pastors,
right?
The spiritual guides, the spiritual stewards of the flock.
Right, exactly. And were you baptized?
No, I wasn't. I contemplated it, and everybody around me was getting baptized, but I was very clear that the kids were getting baptized because that's what their parents were making them do. I was like, y'all don't really want to do this shit. Y'all don't actually understand this. Y'all understand what's going on. And I'm very book smart, and the spiritual stuff is my shit. It's easy for me to comprehend. That's my world. I've always been inclined towards spirituality. Being a Jehovah's Witness, you have to read the Bible. There's a lot of reading. It's a very academic religion, which I actually do appreciate now in my late life, the academicness of it, and the fact that that's helped me to flush out religions and spiritual practices. That's not right for me. But I had a real firm grasp on a lot of that shit early, and I was seeing holes in a lot of the things that they were teaching. But also, like, I was already turned off because I was at a higher functioning mental level than some of the elders, and I was grasping these concepts, and it frustrated me pretty early on that I understood that I could, and I recognized my leadership potential as a spiritual being, and I knew that I couldn't go far in that space. I would never be able to be an elder. I would never be able to be a ministerial servant. I would never be able to be like part of the governing body that made decisions, even though I knew that spiritually I was anointed. I knew that I had a special relationship with my creator, and I knew that the esoteric things were easy for me to grasp. And so that probably was actually the very beginning of it. I was conceptualizing around 8 or 9 that, like, I was moving faster than what a lot of people were moving with me, and that I wasn't going to be able to be carried in that. Like, they weren't going to, because I was a girl, because I had a vagina, they weren't going to, like, uplift me. They weren't going to teach me. They weren't going to, like, make a space for me. They weren't going to give me the leadership position I knew I was made for.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's actually probably the first. I actualized that, though I was actualizing those thoughts at probably, like, 8 or 9. And then at 13, when I went to the wedding, I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar situation. So when I was 5, I was actually, my mom is currently in still a Jehovah's Witness, and so are 2 of my sisters. And my dad was in the religion then, and he actually kidnapped me with the aid of some other people that were also in the faith, and took me to California. And there I was molested by someone else who was in the faith. And my mom turned to the elders for support, and they didn't really give her any support and sided with my father. There's a lot of things there that, like, even to this day, I just don't have answers about. But I think that, like, that was the moment when I started to really tap into the fact that, like, it was kind of just a facade, like what you were talking about. Like, there wasn't really this going deeper in the way of, like, it felt like we were all living in some sort of fear that we would be caught, or we would be vulnerable. And there was always like this, like, who we were was something to be ashamed of. And I saw that so much in, like, the different, families that were in the congregation, and there was just so much pain. And I was also not baptized for similar reasons. A lot of my friends were being baptized, and it just didn't really, like, I knew God was something that who I had a relationship with at the time, this idea of God. But it just, something didn't feel right. And so I didn't do it. And I was also, like, 13 and, like, super horny. So I was like, I don't think I have any business trying to get baptized when I'm just like, all I want to do is just, like, make out with someone.
It is real.
Yes, it's real. Hormones hit, and, like, you be questioning everything as a Jehovah's Witness.
They do. And all the bitches who got, I'm friends with some of them now, which I think is fucking hilarious. I'm like, all you bitches got baptized and everybody was fucking. Everybody was fucking. All you bitches got baptized, everybody was fucking. And they looking at me crazy because I went to speech and debate and took drama. You niggas just having babies.
Exactly.
I wanted to be in Rent. I wanted to be in fucking Phantom of the Opera, and you bitches have a baby.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of funny how that worked out. Like, everyone else has kids now, and this and that, and just different paths. And there's a lot there. There's just a lot there to unpack, but I don't want to make it all about that. But just, like, to give some context as to how we were raised kind of helped us to really, the journey of coming out of that is something that is really rare. I've met a lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses, and I will say they are still very upset, are dealing with a lot of demons, and
not make it well.
No,
I completely understand when, like, even when I think about Michael Jackson, I have a different relationship with it, just even with all his controversial space. I'm like, but that Jehovah Witness factor is for real.
Yes.
And I was like, that influence that he had, and then the specialized upbringing and the celebrity, that wasn't a good mix, because neither of those worlds was reality.
No,
neither of those worlds were reality. And so I'm like, I understand what his dysfunction a little bit more than the average person, because neither of that shit he was dealing with on all forms. He never lived in reality. He went from that Jehovah Witness shit to the same shit, and it was, and again, not many people make it. Not many people make it. That being a Jehovah Witness is devoid of soul. It is a very academic religion. It's a very white academic space. It was created by that white man, but it has no spirit. It has no soul in it, and that the way that damages you is something different than like the way Catholicism is evil to me, but especially because it was used in, white supremacy and colonialism, its role in that. However, there is a spirit there, and that spirit is an appropriated spirit. It's a spirit that exists because many of the holidays, many of the things that Christianity has appropriated was from indigenous people, and it made it easier to colonize us. Like even Christmas being on what it is, that they took sun god and they took pagan religions and put Christmas over there to get us to celebrate that shit. Like literally, so there's a spirit there that does exist, whether it be appropriated, whether it be the spirit that we imbue and imbibe in it, even in Christianity in regards to slavery. The role of Christianity in slavery was horrific. The justification, the way that they used the Bible, the ways they used white Jesus was completely demonic. The way that they used slavery to spread the gospel of Christianity is completely fucked up. But we still were able to bring a spirit there. The way, the gospel songs, the laying of hands, the wearing of white, that's Black people ritualistic ceremonial shit that we imbued into that space. So there is a spirit there. There is a spirit there. There is a space, a piece of the original indigenous gods in these appropriated, in these religions. But Jehovah Witness, there's none of that.
None.
That shit was created in 1914. So it's not even like, it didn't even lift from nothing. It didn't lift from anything. It didn't transfer anything from anything. And so being in that Jehovah Witness space, it is, you see people who come from the religion, in my experience, and finding their spirit, locating their spirit is hard and rough.
It is.
It is almost like there's a separation from their body and their spirit, and they can't ever really get back to it. And especially too, if you don't actively unprocess, because it's not just about moving on. I think the people who've been successful I've seen, you have to process, but you also have to decolonize. You have to unprocess some things. You have to really look at some beliefs and the way that space hooked into you and how that really colored your upbringing and how it colored. You have to unhook from those spaces in order to move on. And the people who I see who aren't successful in that haven't unhooked. Like I meet some people who are like, well, I don't celebrate none of the holidays. I'm like, okay, so what do? Well, nothing. I'm like, you got to find something. You got to find. Why do you not still celebrate those holidays? Like, just question that. I'm not saying you have to start, but like a lot of people, like, they don't unhook. So you find yourself still doing these Jehovah Witness things out of habit because it is familiar, but it's not satisfying. But also, if you don't actively decolonize and delouse yourself of the Jehovah Witness craziness, those tendrils will eventually bring your ass down and eventually make you go crazy. It's a process, escaping that place and escaping not only with your whole self, but being able to build on top of the whole self. So it's a wild ride.
It is, and it's there's something about what you're saying. So it was created in 1914, and during that time there was war. It's a fear-based religion, as in they give us information, like there's books upon books upon books. It's not like a religion where it's like you just have to have faith. Like they'll give you backing for the faith, but it's all created within the religion. But if you were to look outside of it, then that's where the danger starts. Like, don't look outside of the religion. Only look to us for all the information. We have all the information you need to know. There is nothing they call, anything outside of the being a Jehovah's Witness is the world. Like anything outside is the world, and the world is just full of lies, won't tell you anything, and is demonic. Like the yoga and meditation. The first time that I experienced a connection to my body was in yoga. And my shit got rocked. I was like, is this what they were telling me not to find? This is myself. This is who I am. And it's so, and if you're trying to leave, you really do have to find who you are, and that means finding divine, because without it, I still talk to like my family sometimes, and trying to reason with them, it's like their brain only goes so far, and then it just clicks off, and they can't quite comprehend, and it scares me because I'm like, this isn't reality. This is the world we live in. But I also know that it's a very fear-based religion, and that is a defense mechanism.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And the toll it takes on people of color who are in that religion, it is not meant for people of color. It's not a religion.
It's really not. And because there's no acknowledgement of your story, of your placement, of what's going on. My family's from the South, but I was raised in Colorado, and so my family's always been very aware. I didn't grow up in a militant space, I didn't grow up in a pro-black space, but I grew up in a black space, and we were very clear, especially because, when my dad and my grandmother were born, like they were very clear about the racism that they experienced firsthand, and especially being in Texas, some of that shit is rough, like what they've gone through. So I was in a space at home where we discussed black issues, where we discussed police brutality, where we discussed that there was a disparity between me and others, where I got the conversation of, you are black, you are a woman, you are expected to be 10 times better than everyone. If you're not, you're gonna lose. Like everything is stacked against you. But then in the religion, that wasn't acknowledged. The racial disparities weren't acknowledged. Like that wasn't talked about. It wasn't, which I had a complete issue with that too, especially as I was becoming a teenager and becoming aware of the world and getting more involved in my world. I was very much like, this is if you can't talk about it, none of the literature discusses racism. And I also just inherently, my spirit was rebelling. I remember always having a problem with missionaries, and always just inherently being like, there's something wrong with that, and like I just couldn't. And knocking on doors was also the similar thing, and it wasn't until I was out that I was like, because it's colonization. Like, I've never felt right with going into somebody's indigenous space and being like, whatever y'all were doing, that was cute, but it's not what's right. We got what's right, So put on a shirt. We can't see your nipples no more. Put on your shirt, because if you show me your boobies, I'll do a wreck. To just put on like, nigga, what?
Stumbling block.
Like
stumbling block.
About this shit, like everything. So yeah, it's definitely not a safe space for people of color. It's not a safe place for black people. It's not a safe place for femmes. It's not a safe place for women. It's not a safe place for anybody that is on the gender spectrum. It's not a safe place for nobody. It's not a safe place.
Yeah.
It's a safe place for molesters. It's a safe place for pedophiles. It's a safe place for dudes who are emotionally stuck and stinted and who want a lot of power. It's a nice place for white men.
It's a very comfortable place for white men. A very comfortable place. Do you remember, what are some of the memories you have about discovering your queerness within the religion? Because that's a whole nother thing, layers on layers.
My dad was super homophobic because he's actually really, really pretty. And I actually, now that I'm older, I kind of wonder if he's bisexual. And I don't talk to him anymore. But I just remember, my dad's homophobia would suddenly come out, and I genuinely was like, I don't have a problem with that. And anytime it would come out in the LGBTQ stuff or in the Kingdom Hall, I genuinely would be like, my genuine thought was like, I don't really think God has a problem with that. And I prayed on it, and I was like, I just genuinely couldn't attach to that. I genuinely was like, I can't attach to the fact that God gives a fuck about who is in my body. Like, I really don't think Creator gives a fuck about it. And I never discussed with anybody. I didn't identify as anything other than straight at that time. I knew I enjoyed the feminine form. I knew that I loved to see women naked. I love to see everybody naked. And I also attributed to that I was highly sexualized because I was a survivor. I knew that I had survived child rape and molestation. I wasn't vocal about it. I didn't tell that story till I was 15. But I knew what was going on with me. So I just attributed that I knew I was highly sexualized, and I had been highly sexualized for a while. I had been looking at porn. I had been doing crazy things because of my histories with child rape and with molestation. So I just attributed my thoughts to that. I was just like, oh, I'm just different and free. Not free, but I'm just different because of what I've been through. I didn't think I liked. It wasn't until I was like 17 and on my way out until it clicked that I was like, wait, I think I like women. Like, I think I like women. I think I'm bisexual. I actually didn't call it bisexual. I said, oh, I think I like women too, because that term didn't sit well with me. And I didn't understand why, but I didn't identify with bisexual. But I was just like, I like the feminine form too. And that's what that is. And I remember there was a boy that I had gone to work with. He was gay as fuck. And like I was working at some call center. Anyway, he dropped me off a couple nights, and my dad ended up meeting him, and he never figured out this dude was gay, which I was like, nigga, this dude is gay. He's gay. He broke your wrist, gay. This Blaxican is gay. This is the mixedest, gayest black Mexican, gay Blaxican you'll ever meet.
Oh, goodness.
It was ridiculously gay. Like, that just did not pick up on it. I didn't bring homophobic ass. He just did not pick up on it. And, it was being with that dude that I was like, okay, like, I think this is what it is. But it wasn't until I left the house and I ended up dating a drag queen. Pretty immediately after I was, homeless and left the house. But that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, you're queer, because this dude is gay, and he still isn't gay. I was like, he's in a dress, and that's what he wants to wear. And I'm okay with it, and I'm attracted to him in a dress. Jesus. He took me on my first date, and he wore heels, and I was like, oh, I'm here. And it was even with him that was like, I'm definitely not straight, because I don't know what he's going on with him, but I like it, and we're here. I don't think he's straight, though. Are you straight? I don't know what the fuck is going on, bro. But
yeah.
So it was then that I was out of the house. So at that point, I was like, all right. They was at 18. I left my house. I left my family. I left the religion. I left everyone. I went to a homeless shelter. I got kicked out of my house. My dad kicked me out of my family. He kicked me out of everything, and I started my new life. The moment I walked out of my house, my childhood house that I lived in, that was the moment where I put everything down and was like, I'm going to just be who I am, and I have nothing anymore, and I don't have anybody. I don't have nothing. I also don't have anything to lose by being myself, and I'm not going to go back with my family again. I knew it. I knew that my dad was going to be the head of the household for as long as he was alive. He was going to dictate the course of that house and how they acted, and I didn't want to be a part of that. So I was like, just do you. I went to the homeless shelter and was me. People asked me what my sexuality was. And for years, because I didn't understand pansexuality, that wasn't even a word that was out at the time. I just was like, I love who I love, and I don't do any labels. But I was clear that I wasn't straight. But I was like, I don't do any labels, because I actually wasn't I tried bisexuality for a while, but I wasn't comfortable with that. And I didn't even realize I was attracted to trans people. I didn't I had trans people in my life. I didn't have what they use in that language. I just knew that it wasn't enough for me. And so, for years I was just like, I like who I like. And then when I finally came to the term pansexual, I was like, there it fucking is. Like, there it is. I really don't care about people's genitals. I love the whole human body. I'm attracted to the human body. I don't give a fuck what you're working with. And sex is sex. So you can have sex with anything and anybody. So I don't give a fuck about genitals. I don't care what the fuck you, whatever you call yourself. Are you a blue smurf? Fuck it. If I like you, I like you. I don't care. So, yeah, that was, but it was out when I was out of the house and I was 18 and on my own is when I finally let that go.
Yeah. Yeah, I same. 18 was when I finally was like, no, you're pretty gay. You're pretty gay. Like, and before, I don't know what, again, it was that shut off. Like anything outside of what was told to be the norm, I just completely shut it out. Like I knew I had like girls when I was younger too. Like I would always have crushes on them. I always look at my mom's, like, you know, those like old bra magazines.
Yeah.
Like catalogs. I was always picking out like, oh, I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna marry her. And I'd never thought anything.
Playboy when I was younger too. It was I always do. I had a radar. He had one Playboy, and I had a radar for that bitch in that house. Once I found it, I could always find it. And then it was like, hiding it too. Nope, I know where the titties are, nigga. I know where the titties are. Where the titties are. You're not gonna get those titties for me. If there are titties in this house, nigga, I won't find these titties. I'm gonna find them, and I'm gonna look at them, and I'm gonna masturbate, and I'm not even gonna question myself. I'm gonna feel guilty every 7 months, and I'm gonna pray about it and masturbate after I pray and walk away. I don't know.
People's mixed
feelings.
feelings.
Keep them titties for me though. You would not keep them titties for me. Fuck you. I found them. You gonna have to throw it away. Had a radar, and I found that Playboy every time.
It was the same one every time.
He had one. He didn't have no other. He had one. And actually, it was a really life-changing Playboy for me because it was the one with Grace Jones was in it, and that actually shifted. That was that was a catalyst for my sexual liberation and for my artistic liberation. I actually really did read that. I did love the articles and I did like the captions, the little cartoons that they did, but I always would go back to the reading of Grace Jones. And that article was about a show that she had done. This was an old Playboy too. It was like a 1970s one. It wasn't even like an updated one. So that one though, I was obsessed with that article. And like she had done this performance art that one day I'm gonna pay homage to her and do my take and recreate this because it totally sparked a lot of shit for me. But yeah, it was Grace Jones, and it was actually her body that I was like, this bitch is not like anybody in this magazine. She's super dark. She's not actually Grace at the time. She's not a curvy woman at all. She's got tits and she's long. So she's got like the model body, but she doesn't have like a curvy body. And I believe she was a model. But I was like, she's long. She's not curvy like these women. She's not even posed like these women because it was about a performance art thing that she did. And so there was, but the nudity wasn't the focus. The nudity was in there, but it was part of the piece. It was a part of the texture. It wasn't like, it was part of the texture of the art piece. It wasn't like a focus of it. And so that Playboy actually, it was because of Grace. It was titties, but it was Grace that I kept being like, fuck, like this woman is like everything to me. And she started like the whole everything for me. It was definitely titty too, but it was Grace. I would always read that article first. And in the article, she basically was just like, fuck all of y'all. I do what I want. And the piece that they were interviewing her about was really controversial and like caused a big ruckus. And she worked with Andy Warhol, and that caused a big ruckus. And like, I just loved it. Like, at the end of the article was her. It was all of these. She had the art world pontificating and talking all this shit. And then in the article was like, nigga, I do what I want. That's the meaning of the piece. Fuck you. I do what I want. You can't tell me.
Yes. I'm gonna find that magazine every time.
Gold. And like that was motivating me. But yeah, them titties, I was little looking at titties. It's like, oh, I'm totally straight. I like breasts. I'm totally straight. I like a bush. I'm totally straight. I'm straight. I like titties.
Yeah, I'm straight and I like titties. There was a place.
I'm straight. I like titties and like bushes.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Okay. Well, so how? I'm still thinking about Grace and titties. To be honest with you, I need like Grace and titties and Grace. We all need that in our lives.
We do.
Yes.
Grace Jones is a gift we have all been given.
So, what did when you have felt the most tapped into yourself and with source, with the universe, what does that feel like? Like, how would you describe it?
It feels like synchronicity, and it feels like an old comfortable jacket, an old comfortable pair of jeans. There's just an inner knowing and an inner peace that comes over you, and you don't feel infallible, but you feel unfuckwittable. You feel clear.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel that
simultaneously rooted and also like ecstatic?
Yeah. When it feels like the sun is always on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like just being hugged by this energy that is me, but is more than me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like clarity, like I can hear better. I see more. Things are crisp and vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's layers to everything. Like,
mm-hmm.
And I did feel that once, when I was still younger, or a couple times. Usually it was in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd be looking up at the trees. But I didn't know what that experience truly was until I got older and I could put words to it. There wasn't really space to put words to that feeling when I was a Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it definitely took time.
Yeah.
And when you were, picking, it seems like you knew at a very young age, like who the fuck you were, despite being raised, a Jehovah's Witness. But what did it feel like as you were picking up the pieces that might have gotten lost?
Well, what do you mean? Break that down a little bit more.
Yeah. So this, first of all, the first discovery of truly, for me, truly being in love with a woman was a piece of myself coming back, like a patchwork. Another piece was, the meditation and finding myself. Another piece would have been actually feeling my body in different parts of it. And that's still being put together. So, so what has that look like for you in finding your wholeness?
I should mention that we weren't the best Jehovah's Witnesses.
No one is.
That we were double life Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
So because of that, I took speech and debate, and I took drama in high school, and I was writing in high school, and I discovered poetry. So I found pieces of myself on the stage. My first show was when I was in the fourth grade, a group show at third grade. It was third grade, second grade, third grade, second grade. Yeah. And so on the stage, I found pieces of myself. Actually, I did find a couple pieces of myself on the stage with being a Jehovah Witness. But that was more so like, because we would do talks, and we would do the talks. So for the viewers, Jehovah Witness, you go to a couple of meetings. You have with Sunday meeting that's like 2 hours. A Bible talk, and then the Watchtower. We read an article in the Watchtower. We all discuss it together. We have let me see if I can remember all this stuff. We have the ministerial servant. Is that the ministerial servant meeting? I believe so. It's the Monday meeting. And that's basically 1 hour, and that's a book that we're all studying collectively across the world. And then on Wednesday, is that the ministerial, or is that might be the ministerial meeting? I can't remember. But then the one where it's like 2 hours, and you give it's basically you practice for going out in field service.
Right. Yeah. So that's divided up into two halves, right?
Yeah.
So
the first half is a book study. We study out the book. The second half, you break out and you go into the school, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Basically, when you break off in the big congregation, you break off into each congregation has at least 2 to 3 other rooms. So you break off into these little rooms, and you have these mini talks, and these talks are done by everyone in the congregation, and these talks model being out in field service, which is knocking on doors and doing all that stuff, and how to convert people, basically.
Yeah.
So I was really good at talks. I was really good at that shit, and I had a homegirl. We made a game, and if we were there, and in the Jehovah's Witness, in those schools, you would get assigned a talk, and you would get assigned a couple weeks in advance, and you could get it together. You could sign up for it. But there would be times when people wouldn't show up, and so they just wouldn't have. They would be one of those talks they would need volunteers. So me and my homegirl, if we would be in the thing together, we started this at 13. She was a little bit older than me. She had to be 15. But we started because we were both good at that shit. So we would make a game and be like, if there's a call for one of those talks that's open, me and her would get on it, and we would get out of the meeting, and then we would be able to get out of the meeting and come up with our talk, and we would always kill it. We would push it out our asses, and we would kill it. And that was the only time in being a Jehovah's Witness I felt at home, because number one, it was a stage, and number two, I knew I was instructing. I knew I was spiritually helping. And that felt good to me. That felt good that I could break down something in a way that other people couldn't. I could, help people see a concept, or if I knew people had been struggling with a concept in the congregation that I got a long time ago, I could use that talk to break it down or whatever. So that was the only time in the Jehovah's Witness space I felt good. And those were 5-minute intervals. And I didn't do that every week. And that was only for a short time, when I got older. So, but after that, outside of that, I felt good. I felt good when I was being with people and partying with people. I felt connected in nature. And I felt connected when I was performing for people. Those are the places where I was starting to collect myself. And in high school, I got into speech and debate and drama, and my parents kind of let me do it. And they could tell that I was good at it. And so that was when it really hit. And I was like, I can write. I'm a writer. I'm a performer. This is what the things that makes me happy. I like being looked at, and I'm good at it. It's not just I'm up here doing nothing. I'm good at it. I'm entertaining. I'm good at this. And I felt at home. And I felt there was parts of me that I was able to heal. I accessed that art in a different way. I was accessing the roles I was playing in a different way. Even speech and debate. When I got into speech and debate, me and my partner, we fucking revolutionized the shit. They had to make new rules around it, because we looked at the rules and was like, oh, we about to show out. Fuck y'all. Her tall black ass, and we live in a white state. We were like, oh, let's fuck these white people up. They think.
Oh my God! Say more. What?
We were going out to the speech and debate meets in all these white schools, and we were killing it. And literally, we were just. And I wasn't in the writing part. I didn't do the speeches, although I could have killed it. I did the drama portion, and what we did that nobody was doing at the time. I don't know if people do this anymore, but people would just take one monologue piece and just do it. But me and her took a bunch of pieces, and we were telling the blackest stories. We were finding authors that that college level Black people we were pulling it out of our asses. We were bringing Nikki Giovanni. We were making pieces, and they literally had to go to the rule book and be like, "Is this legal?" We were like, "Yes, it is." Yes, it is. It's nowhere in the book does it say you can't use multiple pieces. Like, nowhere in the book does it say this. We were using poetry. They were like, "We've never fucking seen this before." We were like, "You damn right you haven't. Fuck all of you. Y'all, you trying to terrorize us. Y'all be racist. You are so racist that we are going to get up here every time and win doing the blackest thing ever. And I'm a fucking short, fat Black girl, and she's a tall, dark-skinned Black girl, and we are pissing you off."
Yes.
We don't care.
Yes.
So that was when I really, like, that speech and debate and drama was when I really found my footing and was like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
I know what I'm supposed to do. So
there's all places where, like, you can flex your voice and your creativity and what, like, far beyond what you are given. Far beyond. Yes. Damn, I wish there were recordings of those.
I really wish too. Like, we did not get any, but we were killing them. Those are some of my greatest memories of high school, because we would just be loud and obnoxious and we were coming from a school that was like half Ivy League and half ghetto. Like, it was literally half like hood and half like rich shit. So they had no idea what to do with us. And then like, but we were still Black, so like we got demonized a lot because of that. But like, we just killed it. And I just remember going off, and like, those spaces became like where I could get out my frustration about being abused, where I could express myself around. You know, those are safe places too, like, use pieces and things to really like use it as my therapy and use it as a way to like communicate other people's pain as well. So those are the places that I found myself out. And then those are the places I leaned on when I left, because a lot of people don't have anything to lean on. I knew that I was into the arts. I knew that I was a writer. And so I just went to those communities, even though I didn't have any, my family was gone. I went to the community, the art community, I went to the poetry community, and eventually I got to the spiritual community, and they held me. They became my family. They replaced what I had lost. They helped me really move through my issues. They also were at the brunt of a lot of my issues. The early people really did experience a lot of my toxicity and dysfunction because of the major healing I needed to. So many of those people have stayed with me. I've only lost a couple of those people over the years, which it is what it is. And I'm grateful it's only been a few, because I wasn't the best always in the beginning. But they weathered the storms with me, and they helped me to really fortify myself, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Talking about that, because it takes a while, and it's always a journey, right, of healing. But like, there's a lot of people who we hurt along the way, and like, it's it's a part of it. It's a part of it. I feel that.
Yeah.
Completely. Damn. So and you're acting still currently, like, you've been doing some before like the Rona hit, but like, you're still acting. Yeah. How's that been nourishing you?
It's been good. It's been a good life. It has been, and it's been a good journey so far. It's been a super good journey and a super nourishing journey, so I can't complain.
I've thought about, like, even doing it for like fun, like just getting together with friends and reading through a play just to see if like I still got it. And then I'm like, no. I'm like, what? I think I'm just scared. So maybe I should try it. Should try it in honor of that little person back in the day. So what? I forgot who it was who brought this up. She's a high priestess, and she was talking about how in like religions such as like Christianity, Catholic faith, things like that, the idea of a God who wants you to obey them, only worship them, has parameters around the way in which they want the relationship to go. She was talking about if you apply that to like a romantic relationship, you would think that that relationship was abusive. So why do we, like, why do we tie, like, why do we allow it to happen with our divine practice and connecting to source, and we don't with relationships? And I wanted to get your perspective on that, because that was something that I had thought about a lot about, but before hearing it, and to have someone put it into words really solidified so much that was fucked up about how I was raised. Real fucked up. And I didn't, like, some things you just can't put words to. But that's like how an abusive relationship goes. You know, sometimes there's no marks on your body. It doesn't mean that there's still wounds. There's not wounds. So, yeah, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I've been saying this for years, and I should have coined it a long time ago, but we don't think about and we don't call spiritual abuse. And I have, when people talk about, and I talk about I'm a survivor, I name all of my abuses, including that. I'm a sexual abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and spiritual abuse. That being a Jehovah's Witness was very much spiritual abuse. Being in African traditional religions and decolonizing around my faith and my religions is very much an aesthetic love relationship. You know, in one, I was not able to be my full self. In this one, I am able to be my full self. The first time I cussed out God was absolutely was refreshing. And when God answered back and laughed, I was like, that was cute. Did you get it out? Are you done? And I was like, you ain't fucking man. And he's like, nigga, I'm bigger than you. Like, you have every reason to, like, be angry at what you're angry at. You're angry at the wrong motherfucker. But, like, I understand, and I'm also big enough, mature enough not to be mad at your little human ass having a tantrum. And you have every right to have a tantrum. Some shit went down, you know, whatever. I was truly liberating. I was like, I get to be myself. And even just now, like, I tell people all the time, like, I'm formal in ceremony and in front of altars. And in front of ceremonial and ritualistic altars. Other than that, I am my full self whenever. And all I mean by that is I fucking just don't cuss. If I'm in my white, if I'm in ceremony, and if we're in ritual and the circle has been sealed, I'm not gonna cuss. I'm gonna use proper titles. I'm gonna use all that. Outside of that, like, I cussed at my ancestors with my ancestors. I see them when after sex. I see them before sex. I see God about sex. Every single part of me, when I'm great, when I'm good, when I'm not good, when I'm in the middle of doing something fucked up. I can be in the middle of doing something fucked up and check in and be like, you're doing something fucked up. Like, God, fuck up. I'm talking about why your girl is right here fucking shit up right now. And I'm still going to do it. But let's talk about it while I'm doing it. So I can be clear about what happens when I get punished. I can be my full self. It is an ecstatic relationship that's full of love. That I can grow. Because I can be myself, I can grow. Because I can be myself, I can show up in my most authentic space. I can grow from where I need to grow from, you know? So, being a Jehovah's Witness was definitely spiritual abuse. It was definitely abusive in every face. I could not, my blackness wasn't honored, my femininity wasn't honored, my divine masculinity wasn't honored. Who I was as a survivor wasn't honored. Who I was as a warrior, who I am as a powerhouse, a priestess wasn't honored. I wasn't honored in any of my fullness. And I wasn't looked at. I wasn't respected. And in my spiritual path now, all my full self is honored. Every part of me is honored. Every part of me is uplifted. Every part of me is celebrated. They don't give a fuck about who I fuck. They actually do. They give a fuck about it as long as it's not hindering me. But, like, I'm good. Me and my loudness, my brashness, my boldness, me when I'm quiet, me when I'm overboard, me when I'm extremely violent, like, even understanding the violence that lives in me, and it being okay, you know, because it has a space that it functions in, because I am aligned with my spirituality. Even that has a space that I'm able to express, you know, and I'm able to be a protector. There's a lot of people in my community who come to me for protection, and there's a lot of niggas in my community who don't fuck with bitches because they know I will fucking dead your ass. I will definitely run you over, or I'm in the hand-to-hand. I'll definitely beat your ass with a railroad spike. Like, we're not going to do that. I like blood. I want to see you fucked up. And everybody knows how fucked up I am. I've never gotten to personally beat none of my violators' ass, and I'm always waiting for the day where I can take it out on someone else. So these niggas know what's going on, and because like every part of me has a space, like even with that, like the low are like, yeah, come on over here. You know, we like you, every single part of you, the parts that need to be improved and healed. I'm aware of that, and they push me on that healing, and they keep the resources that I need to heal in front of my face so I can be better. But they don't demonize me for none of my shit. They don't demonize me for who I am. When I fuck up, I don't ever feel shame. I feel the weight of what I've done, and I understand the consequences, and I understand what I need to pay back, but I never feel ashamed for what I do. You know, I'm never like, oh my God, you're such a terrible person. I'm like, yeah, you're a fucking human being. And you do great most of the time, and sometimes you just go off rails, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Being able to see it all. Yeah. Being able to see it all, hold it all. That's what I feel like wholeness in spirituality feels like. Exactly what you're talking about. Like being able to cuss with your ancestors, cuss at your ancestors, you know? Facing the consequences if shit goes down. But like it all being there. Like the idea of hiding something from someone that's supposed to see and know it all doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
It's a vicious cycle of like shame.
Yeah. Like, how can I, and when I got over that real talk, and I was like, wait a minute, the ancestors basically can see me when I fuck. That makes me uncomfortable. Then in the beginning, I was like, okay, that makes me uncomfortable. But in the end, I was like, wait a minute, they don't feel anything. Like, they don't want to fuck me, but like also they understand that this is a part of my human experience. And even if it's something down to fucking, I'm like, you know, there are ancestors who did not actually get to fuck who they wanted and have orgasms. So like, why should I be ashamed? Like, there's after that, like, I really got with accepted. Like, they see everything. Like, I don't need to have no shame about what I'm doing. I need to try to be the best I can be every day. I need to try to stand up and be as high up on my moral code as I can. But when I fall, not even if, when I fall, learn my lesson, be humble enough to take my lumps, to learn what I need to learn, and to keep going, and to know that, like, colonialism and white supremacy has reinforced this thing that we are bad people, but our indigenous ancestors, our spirit guides, creator knows we are not born bad people. And at my heart, I'm not a bad person, and they know that. So I'm not going to have any shame around the things that I do intentionally or unintentionally. There's a reason for everything. You know, there's not an excuse, but there is a reason. There is a reason for everything, and I know that I'm genuinely working on myself. So,
yes, amen. Yes. All right. Well, then that being said, what is some advice you can give to people who are looking to leave, you know, organized religion, Jehovah's Witnesses that are thinking of leaving? Because there isn't a lot of people who are examples of you can leave and be okay.
Yeah. You know, my first advice would be look for your support system and start calling out for it. If you are someone who still is connected to the Creator and still connected to God, and you believe in God, pray. You know, really lean into God, lean into your ancestors. The first thing I did when I left was, I remember just having that conversation and being like, God, I know you're real. I believe in you. I believe in things other than you. I think there's things out there, and I want to be directed and guided towards you. I want to know the best way to connect with you for me. And I leaned into that, and I prayed hard, and I prayed that prayer for a very long time. And I prayed that prayer, and I still pray that prayer to make sure that I'm still on my course that I need to be. I always ask Creator, God, Goddess, ancestors, Father God, Mother Goddess, Mother God, Mother God, Mother Goddess, Father God, Father Goddess. Send me all my resources. Send me my gurus, my guides, my teachers. Send me my peers, my books. Send me the things that I need to know, and keep me away from the things that I don't need to know that are beneficial for my path. So really relying on that spiritual support system, whether or not you believe in God or not. Also, at leaning into and forming a physical support system, needing to find people who have recovered or are leaving. If you can't find other Jehovah's Witnesses, finding Catholics, finding people who've left extreme religions to identify with things, to help you identify with things. Getting that support system so you can talk. You're going to need to talk about and process a lot for years. You're going to have to talk about and process what you feel. I have many friends who are made up of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and we will have spontaneous conversations over the years that have been very healing about like leaving, and like there's things that only we understand, and like so we can, there's laughs that we can share, there's jokes that we can share that's making fun that only we get, and all of that is important. So finding a community is going to be really, really important. Fleshing out your faith, I think, is the next thing. What if you don't believe that anymore? What do you believe? Do you believe in God? If you believe in God, fleshing out your faith and understanding that God is not religion. Spirituality is not religion. It can be within religion, both of those things, but it's not mutually exclusive. And so really figuring out what it is that you believe. And if you believe in creator, if you believe in a force, then you have to pursue it. Pursue creator, pursue God, pursue your spiritual walk, pursue that. Open yourself up to that. Because that can really be your anchor, being able to have a spiritual system that I've been able to work with and lean on, building altars. So many days I broke down in front of my altars because I was working through some Jehovah's Witness shit. I was incredibly angry for a very long time because they did take from me. They stole from me. They took from me. And so having those moments where I could just cry and weep and lose it in front of the altar and feel instantly comforted, like literally feel that my ancestors have my back, really feel like the spirit, with me. And, and especially as I'm grieving, I'm able to grieve for my ancestors, for the very first ones who got taken and they were starting to be colonized. Like they understand me more than I understand myself. And they didn't have a lot of the spaces that I have to just cry and be held. And so that work works for me and that work works for them. And they comfort me during that work and they anchor me during that work and they help me get through that work. And then I also would say really defining yourself. You have to really define yourself. You have to take off the things that space gave you that are no longer you or that were never you and replace them with things that are. Getting to know yourself, getting to know your interests, getting to know what you like as a part of this world is really gonna help you to get grounded, and it's really gonna help you to stay focused during that space and during your transition. And then decolonizing, unhooking yourself, from that space. It's just not about moving on. You have to really examine parts that hooked into you and where they were detrimental, and really work to unhook yourself from that space. And also I think a big thing too is like, understand the gifts you got from that space. Understand the gifts that you got from that space and honor that. We all got good things from there. And it may be one or two things, but we got good things. I am so good at speaking because I'm me and that's my gift, but also like having a mic in your face and being made to comment and raise your hand and give talks and do all that shit and go door to door. Fuck, I could talk to anybody. I really can. I actually can sell anything. I hate selling things because of being a Jehovah's Witness, but that is a skill that I have. I know how to sell it. I know how to get past the no. I can do it if it's push come to shove. So I have that whole skill set that does come into play sometimes because of this. The academicness of the religion really prepared me to study. African traditional religions, you need to study and you need to know the history and the stories, and you're studying and conjures about, knowledge. And so it's easy for me to do. I have to do a lot of studying for voodoo. I have to learn 2 new languages. I need to learn French. I need to know Creole. So this active being able to do that is like, it was given to me by, Jehovah's Witness. So acknowledging the good things too, so you don't feel like you were completely robbed of yourself, is going to be extremely important, and making sure that it's going to be extremely important. So, and doing your research, really finding out looking at other people's stories, and that's easier now with the internet. Like YouTube is a wealth of information for other survivors. I have a YouTube channel. I had it up. I had a video up about it, so I'm gonna actually redo those videos. But yeah, just having videos, like looking at the global community. There's even a show on Hulu. I forget what it's called, but it's about extreme religions and the Jehovah. I was just watching it because I'm into like this shit because I have my background. But then the Jehovah Witness episode came up, and I was like, nigga, what?
What? No, I'm gonna look this up right now.
It's on Hulu, and that actually shed a bunch of light. And I was like, oh my God, the spirit of this place is not good. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like something like Extreme Religions or something. It was on, I believe it's still on Hulu. If it's not on Hulu, I've seen one of the Jehovah Witness episodes on YouTube. But like that episode, it really actually, it was so healing for me because the generation before me, but her story and what happened to her and the research, the way that they broke down a bunch of stuff, like made a bunch of shit make sense. The way like they've been covering up, like people don't know that Jehovah Witnesses have spent millions of dollars in legal fees behind paying people for being molested, paying people for being beaten up, like, and that's all hush hush. But yeah, that episode, I was like, good Lord, this is wild as all get out. But yeah, seeing other people's stories, so you don't feel alone, so you don't feel like, oh my God, I'm the only one who, went through that stuff. That's gonna help too. Understanding that there have been people who have escaped and done it well, and there's people who have escaped and not done it so well. Just learning about other people's stories, is going to help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it's called Cults and Extreme Belief on Hulu.
Yes.
And like we're the second episode.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I watched all the other episodes before I watched that. I wasn't ready. When I saw that, I was like, let me take a second. Even though I have been away from it from a long time, I still was like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm ready for one episode. I watched all the other episodes, and I watched that one last and was like, okie dokie, that makes a lot more sense. And it just really, for me, it was really crazy to see how the operation of shutting people down is almost seamless.
It is.
And it really made me understand how easy it was for me to shut me down because they had been doing it.
Mm-hmm. You learn from birth not to listen to yourself.
Yeah, get your life to that episode.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna watch this tonight. I might need to have some wine or something.
I'm telling you, girl. I had to call my other Jehovah Witness friend and was like, "Bitch, get on it. We gotta have a discussion."
Okay, yeah.
I was like, "Do you have Hulu? If you don't, you can use my login, and then we're gonna talk about it."
I know the first picture on here. I'm like, yep, let's do this. I need that shadow work today. Lord. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was, and that's the crazy part. It was just like you'll know I'm talking when the old white lady who used to work at Bethel, when she starts breaking down some stuff, you're gonna be like, oh, whoa.
No, that's going on the end. Oh yes, I'm about it.
Yeah, so, I was like, okay, yep, I get it, and it was very validating because I was like, thank you that someone is out here, that this is public. This is more like, I'm glad that people are like, yo, this is a cult, and like even I'm gonna redo my videos because it's important for me to be just a part of the voice that's like, hey, this is my experience. This is what it was like being a Black girl in here. This is the damage that I received. This is the things that I continually need to heal. But this was just my experience, and you can make it out.
Yeah, exactly. And people like, they always have, ooh, you were Jehovah's Witness, but I don't think they don't know what they even mean by that. Like, yes, it's a cult. A lot of religions are, but even to this day, I still feel bad talking about it in the way of like, no, this shit's fucked up, because it's still within me, that shame. Like the way they train you to not listen to yourself, not trust your instincts, only trust what they say is devastating. Your soul, like you were saying, like your soul completely withers away and dies.
It does. It does. It completely withers away. The way that they vampirically, it is. And then how much space it takes up in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 meetings and then preparing for those meetings. And it's like
auxiliary pioneering.
Auxiliary pioneering. All of this stuff, like it just, you don't have any time to heal. You don't have any time to really look at your stuff. You don't have any time. You just get into this space of complete mindlessness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's crazy. And along with what all you were saying about like things that people can do, finding community, finding yourself, like spiritual practice, like it was so important to me to learn that I didn't have to do the at least I'm not doing this. Like I used to tell my mom, like, at least I'm not pregnant. At least I'm not like doing drugs. At least I'm not doing this. Eventually, all those things actually happen besides the pregnant part. I'm working on that actively. But like you don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. You don't have to, like live your life in shame.
Exactly.
And that's so important to figure out, because you will start experimenting with stuff. You will start, looking at other religions and this and that. And if you are still operating on the fact that like, I'm bringing my family shame, I am a horrible person, like you will self-destruct.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Destruct.
You will completely. And when you say that stuff, at least I'm not doing that, you're limiting, because you don't know if you like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You don't know if that's your life.
And yeah.
Be like, at least I don't smoke weed. I am the biggest fucking stoner. I'm gonna smoke a blunt in a little bit. What?
Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, everybody is safer because I smoke weed, because I hate this world and it's misogynoir and it's anti-blackness. I would definitely have fucked up a whole lot of white folks a long time ago without it. So.
It is crazy. And I just can't even, like, they talk about how horrible the world is. Anything outside the religion is so horrible and filled with so many things that we have to watch out for. But we don't talk about the shit that goes on within the religion. It's the same thing. You're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly in and outside of the religion. But at least now you can choose.
Exactly.
You have so much more. Yeah. So much more. Oh my gosh. Thank you for this, because it's been a while since I've been able to talk. Actually, I think this is the first time in like my 27 years that I've been able to talk with someone who made it out and is doing okay. And it feels so good to use that language. And
Same.
Thank you.
Same. It is always a pleasure to see and to encounter folks who have made it out and who are thriving and who are figuring it out, who are just figuring it out. And that's all we can do, is just figure it out. But it is hurtful and it is sad. Like when I see people who've made it out and they're unhappy, or it's just sad. It's just sad when people aren't able to move on, when people are not able to find a good life, especially because that space is so robbing. It is so fucked up. So it is the worst to not find validation, to not find like good shit after that, So again, it is always refreshing. It's always good. And it's definitely like I was excited to be on the podcast, to be able to just lend the voice, and especially Black voices. In that space, you see, in a lot of spaces that you see, where you see a lot of ex people talking, you see a whole lot of white people. And there's just not as many Black voices, there's not as many brown voices that speak to this. And when you offered this and we wanted to talk about this, part of that reason was to be able to be to be the Black voice in there, and to be an example to us. And even like that lady who on the program, like, she's a white lady. Well, all of them are white, and like, I was still related because we share that Jehovah's Witness past, but culturally it's different. Culturally it's different because even
it's
culturally,
so
like,
different.
Jehovah's Witness shit will force you out of black space. There's black cultural shit you can't participate in. If you're Mexican, you ain't going to no quinceañeras. You ain't doing like a bunch of Mexican shit that like cultural shit. You're not doing it. You know, you're not doing it. And so, like, unfortunately, I said we were not the greatest Jehovah's Witness. So, like, my grandma would still make Christmas dinner, but not call it Christmas dinner.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we all like, because you get the discount that time. Yeah, that's the excuse.
Yep.
You get the discount on the turkey.
Yeah. We were the worst. So, but yeah, it's a lot, and yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to share my experience and to speak to it, and I'm always happy to like have these conversations because it's always a healing conversation. It's always, and I think it after everything else that I've said, I think that's the thing that I want people to take home with them is that I'm always saying that healing is a journey, not a destination. It's a journey. It's not it's not a destination. You're never gonna arrive. So but if you keep working the journey, you'll always be there. You're never gonna fucking arrive, but you'll always fucking be there. And even with Jehovah's Witness, there's gonna be things you always unpack. There's gonna be things that hit you. You can be 20 years deep out of it, but you will have a moment where you're like, fuck, like where you get angry and you're like, man, that shit I missed me because of this or whatever. Even with being a priestess, you best believe, like, part of my journey, I had to really sit for a second and be angry. As soon as my high priestess and my mambo was like, this is your journey, it's time. An overwhelming rage came over me, and I was like, I should have been doing this at 16. Like, I literally was like, I knew this is who the fuck I was. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew who this is what I was. I knew that this was me. I knew it. And I hate that I lost time. And in the end, I know that everything is in divine timing, but that was one of those moments where I had to be gentle. I was really, really angry for like 3 weeks. I was very angry. I was so angry. And it was that Jehovah's Witness stuff. And I just processed myself, and I talked it out, and I processed it until I could move on. But 20 years out, and there's still times where I'd be like,
yep.
Like, oh God, like, oh, it sneaks up. So just taking that journey one step, one moment at a time, and it'll work out.
Yeah. Amen. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, LadySpeech. Okay, what are you doing currently that we can tap into? How can we link with you? How can we see what you're doing? What are your offerings?
Hey, well, my Instagram is LadySpeech. So I update that, and also my artist page on Facebook, which is LadySpeech. I update those regularly with my happenings and things that I'll be doing. In 2 weeks, so at the beginning, probably about the beginning of April, the first week in April, I'll be launching my Patreon. So there'll be 2 separate Patreons. The first one is for adults and to be like a motivational space. A motivational space for people in a learning space. For adults. The second one is for kids and to be a supplemental space. Like, I read to children, but I also have been a sex educator, and so I'm going to start recording videos about. I get calls a lot with my friends to have the talk with my friends' children. So I'm just going to record those videos, and just, if you don't want to have the talk with your kid, if you don't want to talk about jail, if you don't want to talk about AIDS, if you don't want to talk about sex, if you don't want to talk about these really controversial things in an age-appropriate way, I got something for you. So that Patreon I'm going to launch in 2 months. So that'll be after the beginning of June. My adult Patreon will be in 2 weeks at the beginning of April. So that, and everything is LadySpeech or LadySpeech Sankofa. You can also keep up with me on my YouTube. I'm revamping everything that I'm posting on there. So my YouTube is LadySpeech Sankofa as well. And I offer readings, so those are, if people want tarot readings from me, spiritual counseling sessions, I offer those. You can email me at ladyspeech@gmail.com. and we can get into that. We can get a reading. I do mojo bags for people. I do spell work. I do candle work. I do all the mystical hoodoo conjure voodoo things.
Let's get it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have links to that stuff below. And I can't wait to look at these Patreons you're creating. That's awesome. That's so rad.
I cannot wait to give it to you guys. And I also will be doing workshops as well. So I have a couple of workshops that I have. The first one will be finding your roar. So that is going to be for people to help people find their voice and to be authentic and to speak their truth and to live in their truth. And another workshop that I've offered in person that because of the row, I will be moving this online. But this one is called Here Comes the Sun, and it is a ritual workshop that I offer to people to help connect, to do sexual healing in regards to sexual trauma and sexual assault. But we focus on connecting the spiritual body and the physical body. Many times in healing, I'm always talking about healing on the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical body. When most people heal, if they heal, they'll go for the mental body. Sometimes people will go for the emotional body. We almost never focus on the physical body, and we almost never focus on the spiritual body. And those are the places where I feel like if you really have a good grasp, even if you're not doing well mentally or emotionally, if you can process things out of your body and if you can process things in your spirit, that can really help you get clear in your mind and in your heart and be able to process things easier there. So those are going to be the 2 workshops that will be coming out in the next 3 weeks digitally, and I will have all that information on my LadySpeech Instagram. That information will also be on the LadySpeech artist page as well.
Oh, perfect. I'm definitely doing Here Comes the Sun. That speaks to so much. So yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And I hope you rest today. You did work, girl. You did work.
So, do you like me or do you love me? Please heart the episode, share the episode, and subscribe at sunseedcommunity.com.